This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hello, everyone.
Hey guys, how's it going?
We are drinking iced coffee today. This is like, my hand is not normally cold on this show. You know?
I think this is the first iced coffee that we've ever had.
Well, there you go, Andy. You have really christened us today with the iced coffee.
This is Coffee with Crachel. I'm Chris.
And I'm Rachel. And today we have a very special guest here from Seattle. We have Andy here. Hello.
Hello.
And Andy has been a fan of ours. Just kidding. Andy, on our last show, he listened to our last show and was like, I didn't know I was going to be on a Christian podcast because of the title.
Totally didn't put that together for anybody that didn't know us looking at the titles of the show.
I really didn't think about that. If nobody had listened to us before and they saw that title, they were like, what am I signing up for?
Yes, so Andy here, we got in touch because we streamed the game Oxenfree on our Twitch. I don't know if you guys caught that. You can actually see it on our YouTube now, youtube.com/CoffeeWithChrachel.
I almost forgot what it was called.
We streamed that for 2 nights a little while ago, and we got in touch with Oxenfree, and they got us in connection with Andy, who did the music for Oxenfree. And so today we're going to learn a little bit more about Andy, about Oxenfree, about making music for games.
Just game development,
We're very excited about all of this. So let's talk about the coffee first.
Yeah, so Andy, what did you bring us today?
Slingshot Coffee Company connected with Night School and sent this up for us. So it's a cold brew, if you're familiar with boxed wine, that's the format.
It has a little spout that we pushed out. It's very interesting. We'll have to put up a picture of this because it's very interesting.
It came in a bag, too, which is really giving me that Canadian milk vibe, which I really appreciated.
This is the Ethiopia one, I think, or it's where the coffee is from.
Yeah. It's very good, though.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah, it's really good. And, that delivery format's really dangerous.
Oh,
because that can sit in your fridge with a little tap below it. That's just too
This would
easy
be
to
great.
get to.
I don't know who serves coffee at a party, but this is great for a
I
party.
would at my party. I would absolutely.
Maybe for your next office function.
Yeah.
This is great.
This is not sponsored, by the way. We're just sucking their dick. It's fine.
So thank you, Slingshot, and thank you, Night School, for providing us with this coffee. It's delicious.
We just like a nice cold brew because it's got that more caffeine, and what's better?
Honestly, I haven't had too many cold brews except for Stumptown and Starbucks's, which
is shitty.
Yeah.
Not to drag them or anything, it's fine. All right, so basically, Andy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe how you got into music and music for video games?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It was all on accident. It's been a long, circuitous path to making music for games, and all, very not intentional. I didn't go to school for it.
What did you go to school for?
Industrial design.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so I can extra appreciate the coffee box,
the design of this box,
and ease of use. So I did that, but it was always in bands and played music for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and then segued into graphic design, and it was, I think, a few graphic design clients were making little web ads or whatever, and they needed music.
Oh, okay.
So I stepped in because I was convenient, and then I ended up doing a Volkswagen ad that did really well, nationally.
Oh, wow.
And then that's when I just flipped. I wasn't doing any more graphic design, was doing all music for ads, and then that segued into film and TV, and then into video games.
So did you always have an interest in music, or was it just out of that convenience that it developed?
No, always had an interest, but it was just really separated from doing it for a living.
Oh, okay.
I was always in bands, put out records, DJ'd,
made
sample-based music.
How did you get into music?
Just loved it since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And I liked really weird stuff when I was a kid. So I went through the usual thing where you kind of get into pop.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm old enough that records were still
okay.
It was pre-resurgence, before they they were around and then left.
Now they're wall decor for millennials.
So I would get 45s of songs I liked, and then and I was 10 years old, and I was already getting New Order records.
Okay.
And then that would mean that by the age of 12, I was scoffing at people who don't know who Joy Division is.
Oh my god.
That was horrible. I just thought I was
So
so cool. But yeah, I was like the 12-year-old music snob. But paralleling with that, I got really into hip-hop and sampling, and there's this group called Art of Noise from the UK, just made weird music out of like car engines and things, and I just thought that was so cool.
What instruments do you know how to play?
Yeah.
I started out playing trumpet.
Oh, okay. Ooh. Chris has a long history with the trumpet.
So that was... Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to play the trombone, but I was very nervous about it and never pursued it.
I thought his arms were too short in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we could bring that up again.
So that's how I started, and then when you play in a band in school, you're just playing other people's music.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, at some point, I was like, well, can I just make my own? Mm-hmm. Why am I learning other people's music? But there weren't really trumpet opportunities. Unless I wanted to play ska. So I started playing guitar and then ended up playing drums in a few bands, which got far enough to like put out records. And then I got into sampling. I was already a big fan, but then I bought a computer and was like, well, here's a like $200 recording program, and realized I could plug the record player into the computer and start chopping records up. And so that's how that happened. So I went from classically studied,
right,
learning other people's music and reading music, to the exact opposite, where I completely forgot all that, couldn't play any instruments, and everything was constructed with samples. Wow. And then getting into it professionally, then I've come back around, and so now I can...
You're composing.
So did you ever get any professional training or anything like that, or is it always just like you just like studying music?
Yeah, so it was nothing beyond high school
music.
I think I had private lessons for trumpet for like a year maybe. But since then nothing. No formal education at all, and it's just learning by doing.
Well,
that's kind of the way that you have.
Well, that's a silver lining for anyone out there that's like, I never had a vocal instructor, but hey, you can have a career.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh yeah, there's no better teacher than yourself over a period of time. So it's just making tons of mistakes first.
Practice makes perfect. I mean, that's why they say it.
That's why it's a cliche.
So was there anybody or any specific pieces that influenced you, or like you
find influence, like the music that you're putting out now within video games and like your own records?
Well, with all that, with the kind of sampling, and I don't even want to call it writing music, it was like building music in a different way. So the early influences there, I mentioned Art of Noise, the Bomb Squad, who were the producers for Public Enemy. Just did some really they used sounds in really creative ways. They came off records, but they were using them not as like a melody. They were using it as a tone or a texture, and then using that as like a hook. And so it was this completely new way of looking at music. Then there's this guy, Chep Nunez, who wasn't... he was more like a producer, and he did what's called... this is like late 80s New York hip-hop scene, or just edits. So if you got like a Mantronics record or a 12-inch, there'd be dance remixes. He would do dance remixes, then he'd do these mega mixes where he would, and this was when they were recording to tape, so he'd take these tapes and literally slice them with razor blades to make these weird, stuttery, chopped up mega mixes of like all the songs on a record.
So it's more physical that way.
Yeah.
You know? That's so cool. Because now we're doing that, I guess, like electronically somehow.
Yeah. And it's gone in waves where it's gotten really popular in IDM and electronic music, like chopped up vocals and things. And so he was one of the first people really doing that. And again, I just fell in love with this weird mechanical way of making music, and that really influenced me in my own stuff. And then coming back around to DJing, like in the 2000s, then I got more into like Aphex Twin or Ports of Canada, like stuff I'd actually DJ, and then I learned a lot. I'd just say like imitating that, like how'd they make this crazy sound, and learn that stuff, and that's all just stuck with me. So by now it's just like this mishmash of all these different eras and styles of music making that kind of come together in something like Oxenfree.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, now I'm assuming that music is just made differently now. Do you prefer the way that you're able to make music now with all the new technology that we have?
Absolutely.
I'm sure it makes things
Which is funny because
easier.
so Oxenfree is kind of known now as like, oh, this guy is using like cassette decks and reel-to-reels, but I've been through everything. I've recorded on a 4-track cassette player recorder, little Fostex thing.
Yeah.
The size of a shoebox.
Right.
See my hands here. Through like really primitive chopping things up on stupid. I think the program was called Deck on an Apple in like the 90s sometime.
Okay.
But now it's like so many more tools, so much more convenient, so much
Yeah.
more intuitive, and getting from what's in my brain to what I want things to sound like is so much quicker. Yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's
Yeah.
great.
I can imagine like anybody that like was making a podcast or anything like that, like a couple of years ago, even just now, like the changes in technology have really helped that along too. So I feel like, I don't know, the new tech helps with audio things. I don't know too much about.
Chris is talking out of his ass
I
right now.
don't know a lot of. I'm learning a lot of stuff about editing audio
Through
and
this.
stuff through podcasting. I'm sure it's completely different
And also
from
way-
making music, but way easier.
Less
I'm like using
difficult.
GarageBand for this show,
Yeah.
so like,
Well, yeah, I love it all, and there's kind of two ways things are heading. I'm sorry if this gets too detailed and
No.
and technical
You're
and
fine.
nerdy.
I think
But
that's
I love
so
the detail.
interesting.
So, because since I've evolved with all of it, like I think I use Pro Tools is like I don't know what I haven't used it for years, but it's like on version 11 or 12 now, and I started in like version 3. So
Oh, wow.
or Ableton. I started on version 1.5 and they're on version 9 now.
Okay.
So I've kind of watched it all develop, and two things have really been happening. So something like Ableton has gotten more complex, and there's more customization you can do, which is great for people like me. I mean, you can really, really dig down in something like Max or Reactor, build
Right.
your own synths. Versus there's also this trend towards convenience and ease of use for like iOS devices and things where it kind of worries me because it's great that things are getting easier, but they're also getting rid of like features
stuff.
that if you're working around them, it kind of homogenizes everything that happens. You know, if you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have the ability to customize everything, then you're like, well, I'll just use this one effect because it's the only one they're giving
Yeah.
me.
Right.
And so that kind of worries me.
Yeah, I can see like streamlining it kind of removes like just building it all the way through. So
Yeah.
I can see that.
But unlike, there's no dominant player though. Unlike, like for image editing or whatever, like Adobe's pretty much the shit.
Yeah.
And for audio, there's just like new stuff popping up every day. So, I'm pretty confident that kind of crazy weird. There's going to be a tool for everybody in every little tiny little genre and style of music you want to make. There's going to be some special tool to make it happen. Yeah.
Okay. So how would you, if you had to describe your style of music, how would you describe it?
That's tough too because I'm at this point where I make the music I like to make, and I'm never like disgruntled about a job I'm working on.
That's good.
But my number one thing is that whatever the project is speaks first,
Right.
and so I don't get hired for a project and go, well, whatever with your plot. I'm going to make this kind of music because this is the Andy show, so screw you. I like to take as many cues as I can from the game, and so I'm working on a game right now that's 100% orchestral. I'm doing actually a couple games right now that are very like kind of intimate acoustic. Small, I hate to use the word small, but it's intimate music. It's not like a big orchestra. It's just a few instruments. And then something like Oxenfree, where the plot and elements of the story really inform the way the music sounds.
Right.
So I'm still maybe like playing a melody like I would on any other type of music, but the aesthetic of it really drives a lot of what happens with the music.
Right.
Like there's songs on it, kind of getting back to this whole sampling and resampling. A lot of the songs are versions of other songs on the record. Like one is just, I wrote the song and it sounds all scratchy. I think it went in through a cassette deck, and then I just pitched it down so it was playing really slowly, just like
Yeah.
And then I wrote a new thing on top of that, and that was the new song.
Oh, okay.
So there's this weird relationship with
kind of just like meshing them all together.
Yeah, so that works musically. It made a cool song,
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
But when you then go back to the game, it's like, oh, there's those tape players, so it relates to something from the game.
Yeah.
So things that happen in the game's world kind of come back and affect like how the music is even made at all, let alone kind of how it works its way back into the game as the soundtrack.
I'm thinking about like the spinning of like
Yeah,
the
when you
things
had to
as-
rewind the tapes.
Yeah.
So when you're composing music for a video game, do you get like, because obviously the music needs to like go with the vibe of the game to like make the emotions like more clear. So do you get to see the plot first? Like how do you come up with the vibe for the soundtrack?
Yeah, it happens in a lot of different ways, but it's usually, depending on where I come in the process, it can be really early, in which case it'll be like, for a game like Oxenfree, a script. So I was reading scripts with no visuals at all, with just descriptions of characters and the plot and the ghosts and how all we started talking about radios and the tape player possibilities.
Right.
All the way to games that are further along. So I'm seeing something that might even have, might be a demo that already has music in it.
Okay.
We kind of like this music.
Like here's what the vibe is if you could build something on that or make it your own.
Yeah, and I'm really used to that because that's a holdover, or it's very similar to film, where there's even words for it. So they call it demo love or temp love, where you make film and you edit it and you start throwing in music. That's as an editor or director. And so they're basically fleshing out the whole thing without your music in it yet, if you're not in early enough. So I'll use an example from stuff I've worked on. It's like I went into a film project where virtually the whole thing, it was like a couple years after There Will Be Blood.
Okay.
And so the whole thing had temp music from There Will Be Blood. So it's all this amazing Johnny Greenwood music that is just, I love it, let alone, it was great in that film. And so then it definitely helps the director say, oh, this is my vision, but then you're also like, that's a tough
act to follow.
That is a tough war to fight, because you're like, oh, yeah, like you want to dump all this stuff because I'm so much cooler and better. And a lot of times you run into scenes where you're just like, you have to fight constantly. Like, no, okay, this isn't quite working. Okay, edit, nope. And you just go back and forth trying to replace that stuff. So anyway, that's the long-winded way of saying sometimes that's the thing, is you're
you have the music like kind of as a placeholder.
Yeah. And even with moods. So again, with Night School, Sean and I traded mixtapes. So he said, well, here's kind of the style I'm thinking, and he compiled a bunch of music. And I did the same thing. We traded, and we even had like, I think, a few artists the same. Like of all the music in the world, we were both like had a few things in common that we thought would be a good direction.
Okay.
In terms of like influences.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine that would be hard to like just have like a script and like not, and like I would imagine
no
like
visual.
you want to even just like concept arts or something like that, something to give you a visual for like what the mood of the scene looks like.
Because even just like the coloring can change the whole thing. Like the script could be really dark, but the visuals could be very light or bright.
Yeah, and I think I have a general composing habit that lends itself to that kind of abstraction or malleability, in that I don't really believe in very literal composing, in the sense that it really guides what's happening and it reacts like strongly. Like think of like a comedy where the music is also like, just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So this is going back to this movie ZMD I did, where there was a little back and forth in conversation of what the score should be like, because it's a zombie horror comedy.
Oh, okay.
And so
it's like Shaun of the Dead.
So there was somebody involved who was like, well, the music, it's got to be funny. We got to remind people. And I'm like, no, it's got to be. The movie takes itself seriously. The music has to be. It's almost like the music is not in on the joke, and they take it very seriously. Holy shit, zombies! So that serious tone offsets the comedy even more and made it stand out more.
Right.
So I believe in those contrasts as opposed to like, I can, like, if it's a comedy scene, I can make this funnier.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's similar to Oxenfree in that I was even asked this in a recent interview. Like, somebody said for a horror game, it's not very horror-y, scary music. And again, I was setting a background for that stuff to happen on top of. I was relating more to the characters and how they feel and like the environment, and not to the kind of action of the it's
I didn't really
scary.
feel that like it was like overly like jump scare horror kind of music. It was just like setting the tone of the island.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I wanted to do.
And when we were streaming, like, everybody was in the comments just being like, this music is lit. Like, that's all everybody kept saying, because it was just like, I guess it's just unexpected, because it was, I mean, there was like almost like I don't know, it was upbeat at times when the plot wasn't,
Yeah.
and it was just like, I don't know, it definitely stood out in a good way. So.
Yeah.
We
have a question here from one of our listeners, Madeline, and she asked, do you approach composing games, films, and other media differently than composing pieces for a performance concert setting, and what different factors do you have to take into consideration?
Yeah, they're all different.
Yeah.
So like the transitions I went through was a live musician who did not care about records. I was just kind of whatever, it was the fun of playing in front of people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think it was the combination of DJing and performing live that really made me think a lot about how music was constructed for those settings. So DJing, I would use, I started out in turntables, but then I started using Ableton Live, and so much of it's reacting.
Yeah.
So go in with the general framework, but then the crowd is obviously not enjoying a song. I have the ability to like cut out and move to the next thing quickly. So it's like kind of on the fly, making adjustments. And that was really helpful getting into video games, because that modular approach to how music flows works perfectly with video games.
Okay.
It's like a film or a song is like you start here and it goes for a while and ends here. But a video game can go, it starts here and then, oh wait, no, we're going to jump. Oh no, we're going back here. Now, you went left when you could go right, so going left has to have different music than right. So you're building in this like modular approach to how the music flows. That, even though the end results may seem smooth and like a cool song that I would have just written, a lot of video games in particular, a lot of that modularity has to be thought of ahead of time.
Right.
It's kind of like putting Legos together, like just building different paths.
Yeah.
Instead of it being like one smooth, slow burn for like, I imagine like if you're working on a movie, then that's more of like where it's just kind of like a crescendo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's you have like a whole story, beginning, middle, end.
Yeah.
And it's not like, you can take, like, in a video game, like, you might do a side mission, and then there's, like, a side song with that,
Yeah.
It's not going to be a side mission in a movie, but...
Yeah, so with, like a film, you do have some leeway these days in terms of you get the rough cut of the movie, and if I find a musical idea that can't fit in, or we need a couple extra seconds on a shot or something, there's still flexibility to do that kind of thing, but... Unlike games, you can't go, what if, like, a tank rolled in now?
Yeah.
No, because it's already filmed, and you're done. But in a game, those decisions happen all the time. So things are getting built up and torn down constantly, even in the process of making it. So in process, you have to be ready for all those changes, but also the final product has to adjust to those changes as well, depending on what the player does.
Did you find that you, as you were making the music for this, did you have feedback or ideas that would then help shape the way the game flowed as they were making it? Or
yeah, some of the ideas we bounced around are actual gameplay components. So.
Okay.
What's something that you really left your stamp on in the game?
The magnetophones were something that I brought. I was like, what if? And that was the idea of, I just kind of ham-fistedly explained like a turntable, and you push it and it goes, you can slow the music down or speed it up.
Right.
But you could do that, and I actually was like, what if you could do that with like an analog stick and speed it up and slow it down? And Brian, the engineer, was like, oh, that sounds... yeah, that would be cool. Let's try that. And he, I don't know what magic he he did something to make it happen, and it was just amazing. I was like, oh man, this feels so good. And so then it's like, well, now we've got this cool ability. Now let's put it in the game. And then there was a little more thinking about how it would work,
how it would function.
Yeah. So there was a lot of back and forth like that.
That's awesome.
They had already had the idea for the radio, but then I really helped with this is how radio functions, this is how it should function, and this is how we could use it for a puzzle mechanic.
Right.
And a lot of that stuff was actually more complex. I like really, really difficult puzzle games.
Me too. Puzzle and strategy is my favorite genre of games.
So what little influence I had, I was always pushing for it harder. No, make it. Yeah. But they just didn't, and they totally made the right choice. They didn't want any of that to interfere with the narrative flow. They didn't want it to be this was all feeling really good, and then I had to sit and do this stupid quiz game for an hour. They didn't want that kind of thing to get in the way of the narrative. So some of these ideas were simplified, and then some of them we got to then exploit for the ARG.
Okay.
Because when that popped up as a possibility, then it was like, okay, great, now I can do all this ridiculous, complicated stuff.
So let's talk a little bit about the ARG. So the ARG, what does that stand for, first of all? Let's get that out of the way.
Do I even know? Alternate reality game?
I think I saw it was augmented reality.
Augmented reality? I don't even know. Jeez, that's just what it was called. I actually was referring to it as a scavenger hunt.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind
for the longest time, but then it kind of, I noticed in the press, everybody's calling it ARG, and I'm like, okay.
It's ARG, all right.
Because, I think Archer just did one, the TV show. Really, I just read the summary of it, and it's insanely complex, but I think they called it a scavenger hunt. But anyway,
it's basically it's a part of the game, but you can also have it in your real life. There's something to discover physically out in the world, really. So maybe just give us a rundown of what that was all about.
Yeah. Well, I had done a few similar things on games I'd worked on previously. I've always just loved tricks you can do and weird things you can do with audio that give you a different perspective, I guess. If you listen to a song over and over, and then you listen to it on headphones, and you hear some weird instrument you hadn't noticed before, and you're like, "Wow, I've always loved that kind of thing."
Right.
And then all the gameplay mechanics and the radio and the tape player just made all these weird audio tricks kind of make sense. So we said, well, what if we make some of that stuff happen outside of the game? We're not sure what. But maybe we could kick it off, and if it goes well, then we can do something. So that's why in the game, so if you play the game, the only elements of the scavenger hunt in the game itself is the phone number. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and those are just numbers. And so...
we did not find this, by the way.
Okay, yeah.
We did not find this.
We really need to replay it, because we've been doing a lot of research about the rest of it, and we missed out on a lot of shit.
Yeah, I read a wiki about the ARG because I was what is going on?
Well, it is. There's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
And that was part of it, is we didn't want it to be something that someone could sit down and solve it themselves. We wanted the communal aspect. We wanted it to be a thing that required a community of people to come together and figure it out. But yeah, the only thing in the game is you find the little rock piles, the anomalies.
Right, the anomalies.
You tune into those, and they seem like innocuous messages, but at the beginning of each one is a letter and a number. So,
oh my god,
like
I'm such an idiot.
like Alpha 3, Tango 6.
Right.
And if you then alphabetize it, and then take the numbers associated with each letter, and that's a phone number.
Okay, so I'm assuming you said you really like hard puzzles. So like, was this like part of your idea?
Yeah. So I thought, this will be really tough.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, it's tough to just find all those rock piles.
yeah.
Like, that's half the
We got
battle,
like
guys.
2 out of 10, I think.
I think, it was really sad. I mean, to be fair, when we're streaming and playing a game for the first time, it is kind of difficult to, like, really catch the little things.
Yeah.
So from now on, all story games are getting played before we stream.
Yeah.
Because it's too much.
Well, especially Oxenfree's dialogue system,
Yeah.
it definitely requires attention.
Yeah, and they kind of, like, speak over each other at times. So you gotta, we always have captions up on the screen just so we can see everything.
Which, side note, I wanted to mention, because this is another thing. I'm not part of night school. I'm a contractor.
Right.
When I heap praise on them, it's not just me blowing smoke up my own ass. It's I was really impressed with how the narrative is structured and how it flows and how it works.
Yeah.
So again, that's going back to like puzzles being too difficult. I totally understand. I'm like, it makes sense. They did such a good job making this whole thing flow.
Yeah.
And so with the ARG stuff, I wanted to augment it, but I didn't want to be like, this is more story stuff, or this will change the game itself. Mm-hmm. It had to be separate. In that way, it's weirder, and it is less narrative and just kind of a bunch of spooky, strange stuff. But then that lets the game still be its own thing.
Right. So if you don't find it, you're not, like, totally fucked.
Yeah. Exactly. But, so that's what it's for. Is some people really like finding the Easter eggs and digging around, and so that's what this was. That's the first puzzle, is that there was something more.
Right.
It's like, what are these weird radio things? Somebody's going to collate them. Somebody's going to document them and record them. So we knew that was going to happen. But then Sean, in an interview, he hinted that there was something. And so that set it off. Then people were immediately like, we're going to find this. And it was like the next day, it was like, they found the phone number.
Were people really quick to be able to figure this out?
Most of the puzzly stuff, if it was obvious it was a puzzle, was solved like within minutes.
Honestly, like just seeing like what some of the puzzles were, like even just like thinking, the letters and numbers at the beginning of each anomaly thing,
or
like that's something like I can't even like.
I was too busy trying to like focus on what they were going to say next.
Yeah.
So I didn't even like to people that they are really like eagle-eyed to like, or eagle-eared, whatever you want to say, to like figure that out. That's just like mind-blowing to me, but it's awesome.
Probably people that play puzzle games like a lot.
So then beyond that, then the focus was not on cryptography. We didn't want it to be some deep NSA Brainiac thing. We wanted that communal sense to be a big part of how things were solved.
Yeah.
So the Twitter stream, which seems abstract and nonsensical, wasn't cryptography in the traditional sense. It was just a string of words that essentially did not make any sense until you had enough of them. And the only thing that needed to be solved is those words needed to be typed into Google. And then the result that comes up was the thing that people were supposed to be looking at.
So did you like have how much did you make of the ARG? Like, was it just the music that you were responsible for, or like creating these puzzles as well?
Yeah, I did like 90% of it.
Okay.
Wow.
This was my dumb idea.
Okay.
And so it was up to me to handle it, in which I totally took it on. It wasn't it got dumped on me. I was like, I want to do this. Is that all right? It was more like I was asking permission to do this dumb side game attached to the much bigger thing. And they were like, yeah. And they were helped with anything that needed assistance. But it really grew from... it's crazy to say it, but that's the phone number and the music box that was found. Those are the only two ideas that existed when the game shipped.
Oh, wow.
Everything else in between was... Oh, no, there's one more thing. The Morse code in a song.
Okay.
We knew we were going to use for something we didn't know. Those are the only things that existed. And it was because, well, what if the game doesn't sell? I don't want to put
all this time
into this thing.
Yeah.
So some deep part of me wanted it to fail, so I could just be done. Like, oh, okay.
But
no, I really wanted it to succeed, so I could do all these stupid things.
So I was watching, actually, on the day that like everybody was going out to like find this stuff. I was watching some people's periscopes as they were out there doing that, and one of the things that they found, like you said, was a music box, and you made that, right?
Yep.
And
so I guess that's using your
industrial design.
Yeah, so that's industrial design history. I knew these things existed.
Yeah. He's got a music box right here with us,
there might be, secret reveal. There's a second music box.
Ooh, you're getting here first, guys.
So sorry about the fidgeting. But it's just so I have like woodworking experience from industrial design, and we just came upon this as like what's cool. So this was the main thing with whatever the thing. Pardon that. The thing that people find had to be cool enough that they wouldn't feel like they'd been had.
Okay.
Have you seen Christmas Story? Have you seen that movie Christmas Story?
Yes.
So he wants like a decoder ring.
Yes.
So part of the big thing is like saving up to get this, or mailing coupons or something to get this decoder ring, and then he finally gets it, and the secret message is "Drink your Ovaltine,"
right?
Which is just such a letdown. And so that was in my brain. The anti mantra was, "Don't tell people to drink the Ovaltine." It's got to be cool. It can't be like crazy expensive. And then I just hit on this idea of a music box. Mm-hmm. Started digging around for what could the box be that's relevant, and then I found these reasonably attainable World War II era first aid kits. These metal boxes.
That's what that is. It's like this really distressed metal box is what we're looking at, and it has like if you ever have gone to like a general store where there's like the pianos that play with the paper that has all the holes punched out, and that's how it plays the music. That's kind of what this looks like. I should probably just like take a picture afterwards and post it on our Twitter.
Yeah. Should I play it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
And it's 2 songs from the game.
And you punched out all of these individual holes on this.
Took a while.
Did you just stress the inside lid here too?
No, this was actually like that.
Oh.
Okay.
And you just put Oxenfree on there.
Yeah, and then just have this little stamp kit, typesetting stamp kit to do all the graphics. Anyway, here it goes. Oh wait, it's offset sometimes. There we go.
Oh god, Lila likes it.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So, obviously, you're probably not going to say like where this is going to be or anything, right?
Yeah.
Or you? I won't give any details away.
Yeah. So there's up until now nobody knew that there's 2 of these.
Right.
But let's just say that I needed to prototype.
Okay.
So,
that makes sense.
So a lot of experimentation, a few failures, especially with these paper strips.
Right.
Because people on the radio can't see, but they had the notes written on them. They're wrong.
Oh no!
So I was writing down, notating to figure out which holes I had to punching them out, and then running through the machine, and it sounded horrible. And I was like, "What the fuck is wrong?" like my musical training is absolutely gone.
Oh my god!
So I did. I sat at the piano and ran it through. I made one with every single one playing, and ran it through and listened. And I was like, "God damn it!" The notes are different on the music box itself than they are on the paper. So I had to then translate everything, refigure out how I was punching the holes to get it right.
That's gotta be a pain in the ass.
So that was the song Lost,
yeah,
correct?
That was Lost.
And the other one that was with it was The Beach. 7 a.m.?
Yep.
And so, is there any significance to those, or did you just pick them?
No, we picked those two. Lost because it's appears a few times in the game, but the crux of it is that was Jonas's mother's, the song she sang to him as a kid, or played for him as a kid. So that one had almost a relation to something that could be on a music box. And then the Beach 7 a.m. is just kind of like a good summary of, at least for me, and we felt a good summary of the emotions of the game.
Okay.
Which was interesting because we really, really liked the song, but it wasn't fitting into the game in any particular place that just felt right. It got tossed onto the credits as kind of like we'll put it here for now, and then we just realized perfect place for it. Because after you've had the experience of the game and the credits roll, it's like the summary. It just felt so good. It's like reminding you of everything in the game. And then I took that and then backtracked through the game and found places where it could be used for foreshadowing.
Okay.
So, again, here's crazy Easter eggs. The wind chimes on the Adler porch.
Okay.
If you stand there long enough, they're playing the melody from that song. And then the music during the Hangman quiz and on the projector in the Adler basement is the da-da-da. It's kind of like the 50s string elevator version of the same song.
There's so many little nuggets that are hidden throughout the game.
And
That's
we
so
miss
cool.
these things so much. We need to are you sick of this game now?
Oh no,
Okay.
I'm actually not. Yeah, because getting back to how games are made and where I am in the process. This one was really strange because I didn't know much about it until really late in the process.
Okay.
I was on a Mac and they were all on PC, and so they were prototyping for themselves. I was like, is there a build I can play? And they go, okay, well, we'll make a Mac build, and they'd send it, and it would crash right away. So I had art and I had scripts, but I hadn't played it as much as I normally would a game I'm working on. So my experience of the whole narrative and how the game was structured was really late in the game, which was great because there then was a lot of cool mutual decision making about where music would be placed. Or I would say, I made a song for the first scene in the woods, and I'd send it to them. They're like, that's great, but it actually works better here. And so there's a lot of this pushing and pulling of where things went, which and I think I just generated enough music that it never became a problem. There was no scene where we're like, we don't know what we're doing. Like I said with the beach, we had enough. It was like we want to put more in, and there was no place to put it. So
I want to change gears and talk about one of my favorite games that you actually have done the music for. So everybody listening knows that I'm a big slut for PopCap, and I love Peggle in general because you know puzzle games, and I know that you did the music for Peggle 2. So I wanted to hear a little bit about that, and also who your favorite Peggle master is, because it's an important question.
So I did some of the music for Peggle 2. So that is great because that came about because of a neighbor.
Oh, wow.
I was and this is actually how I got into video games. I was at the local coffee shop on Beacon Hill talking to a friend about an ad I had just finished for Microsoft.
Okay.
And I could tell that this guy sitting next to us was kind of listening in. He was eavesdropping. Like, what's up with this guy? He's totally paying way too much attention to what I'm talking about. But then he introduced himself, and the guy's name is actually Guy, and he was the audio director for Microsoft Game Studios.
Oh, wow. And
it's like, okay. And I think he was just like, have you ever thought about working on a video game before? And I was like, well, not yet. And I had not done any video game work.
Right.
So he was there, and I worked with him on a project there, and then he moved to PopCap to be the audio director.
And that's based here in Seattle, guys, if you didn't know.
Just a few blocks from where we are right now.
Yeah.
So he put together a team at PopCap, and then in the process of them writing all the music for Peggle 2, they realized they had the challenge levels.
Oh, God, yeah.
And that they wanted the same music, but then they wanted some sort of different perspective on it. So I was brought in to do essentially remixes of all the main level music for each master And so each one became its own kind of remix.
Mm-hmm.
So it's super fun because
I love the music in that game.
Yeah, that was really
They really
awesome.
bumped it up from like the first game.
Yeah.
Which I also like the music in that one too, but this was just so different.
Who's your favorite master?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go for Jimmy because because here's another Easter egg that in that remix that's me. I'm the toaster. Well, we didn't have anybody, and it was a joke. I was like, "Oh, we'll have somebody like, is it Jimmy talking? I don't know." But so then Jimmy pitched down a lot, but so that's me.
Oh my god!
Because I was like, "Well, what do you think of this? Can we have?" Because there's with a company that big and that has such a huge reach with their games, there's issues with localization and what languages can you speak, and so I have him what he says, like, get those pegs or something. So I was like, can we do this? And they're like, oh, we have to run it through the pipeline, and then they came back with like, yes.
That's awesome.
But they were like, it's fine the way it is. Like, okay, I guess it's me. So I'm the voice of Jimmy.
Oh, I'm gonna have to play that
for
later
that.
And, like,
The dialogue is someone else.
Okay.
But just in the song itself, that the guy talking is.
I think that's one of my favorites from that game too, because that was just like so surprising when you played that game that it was gonna have like the bass drop and everything like that.
And that was one of the really fun things about that. It was kind of. PopCap has their specific aesthetic, so we needed to do something that was remixed and cool, but still fit that aesthetic. So it's kind of like fun, jokey versions of different genres of like darker, I guess isn't the right word, but dance music like trap, or footwork, like stuff that is not known for being happy and lighthearted.
Little hamster doing his thing.
So it was really fun to do something like that, where it was like, it's influenced by electronic genres, but it was definitely a more lighthearted take on it to fit the PopCap thing.
So I don't know if you still are like in good connection with them, but can you let them know we'd really like a Peggle 3? We would really like one. PopCap, if you're listening, please.
Literally anything that they just
Peggle
put out
related.
games. Like, just continue.
Yeah,
I love them.
I've played a lot of the new Bejeweled, I can admit.
Oh yeah.
We are big Bejeweled fans too.
Yep.
Just anything I can really kill a couple weeks with, Like, you can put days into these games because you're just sitting here trying to do the challenges.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you did the music for probably the hardest part of that game.
Yeah.
It's so infuriating, some of those challenges, because there's levels where you only can throw one ball out there, and it has to work, So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and as far as like a company's treatment of like audio, it's like they're the top right now. I think Guy has assembled like an amazing team of people to handle sound effects and music, and so their approach to everything is perfectly PopCap, but also like really respects music, and it respects like what it takes to make it. So that's one thing that's really cool, because a lot of like games on that level of like more casual games, they treat a lot of that as like throwaway, like whatever, we'll throw
just put something in
They
there.
put one song on a loop,
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what you see a lot. I mean, even in like Peggle 2, it's like the way that the ball hits the pegs sounds different with each master. Like, what's your favorite boing?
Oh.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think mine would be what's her face? The fairy.
Luna?
Yeah. No, not Luna. The one that has like the purple pegs is her thing. It's like very tinkly. Luna's the ghost
fairy.
girl, right?
I forget her name.
Yeah.
The Luna remix is one of my favorites too.
Yeah, I like her song the best out of everyone's.
Yeah, it might be my favorite. I hate to pick favorites, but I really like that one.
Not like her power up is kind of hard to do. Like, her skill is hard to do, but the song is like, and the art for that one is like one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So going back a little bit to Oxenfree, how did you get involved with night school?
This is great too, and this is the way I wish the world just worked.
Another coffee shop eavesdropping?
Yeah, it's like
even better.
Coincidence
So way back in the day when I was just making solo records, no video games or movies in sight, it was my friend Steven ran a record label, and then he was here in Seattle, and then he moved to LA, and he put out records by me. So he gave one to our mutual friend Caesar. Caesar gave it to Sean, and this is like 10 years ago.
Wow.
Okay.
Sean had never met me, didn't know who I was, but had this CD in his car and had always listened to it.
Oh, that's so weird.
And a couple years ago, I'm sure you guys know about the uproar of trying to do this without naming names, but the game player people who didn't like other types of game people and feminists.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
they're like Voldemort on this channel. We don't ever mention that
yes.
word.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
So you feel free to edit this.
No, it's fine.
So there was basically a petition, basically saying we stand together, unified against this thing. And so I was like, well, fuck yeah, I'm putting my name on this. Mm-hmm. And Sean was somewhere, in LA, was like, yeah, of course I'll sign this petition, and had clicked on it like 2 seconds after I had in the world of the internet and saw my name. He's like, wait, that's that guy, that's that guy's friend who made that CD I used to listen to all the time. Huh. And then within that span of time, then that mutual friend got in touch with me. He's like, yeah, my friend wanted to know if you'd be interested in working on this video game.
Wow.
That is
like,
so wild.
Yeah,
this is just from signing a petition.
Yeah, but with this earlier connection of these friends and him already knowing my music, but then what jogged his memory was my name on that petition.
That's so wild.
So thanks, assholes.
So now it's kind of like, do you believe in fate? Because like that, and then the coffee shop thing. I mean, like, what are the chances that you're sitting next to the Microsoft dude?
Yeah.
So
it really is.
So
it is
we found
weird.
the lucky one here. That's cool.
I will never discount the amount luck has to do with where I've ended up.
I mean, that's just that's crazy, though. I mean,
so a really cool. So the petition thing, that was one thing. I think more I lean on that we have these mutual friends and kind of come from the same headspace with this. So we connected like immediately.
Okay.
There was no, like, we were comfortable instantly.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, so we met in person. We had already started on the game. We met in person in San Francisco like maybe 3 or 4 months after we started, and it was just like really easy to just go we met on the day that the first trailer launched.
Okay.
So we went and we were sitting in the middle of the day at 21st Amendment Brewery in San Francisco, like nervously sipping our beers, looking at YouTube on our phones. And this was with Adam and Sean, and they didn't know about at the time at least, the YouTube 301 plus thing.
right,
where if a video's getting seen a lot right after debut, it stops used to stop at 301.
Yeah, they just fixed that, finally.
Yeah, and it would sit there for like a day. So they're like, oh my god, only 300 people have watched it. Oh no, we're doomed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, this is good. That means at least that many have watched it. And
Probably
we'll see
more.
tomorrow. Yeah, and then the next day it jumped to like 20,000 or something.
That's awesome.
Much better.
So you mentioned meeting in San Francisco. They are in LA, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so was that hard to like work kind of remotely from them?
No, and most everybody I work with is remote.
Okay.
So I'm used to it, and then again, we kind of got off on the right foot. Like it was really easy for me to get the gist of what we needed to do, and then just to start cranking out music.
Right.
So we didn't work with, okay, this week is this level, we have to finish this level and we'll move on to the next. I was doing much more like broad strokes, like with where the music could fit in.
Yeah.
And you'll even notice that the actual album, like the Bandcamp record, is a different sequence and order. That's because that is like its own story, however abstractly.
Okay.
So I didn't just like progress through the game and then line up the music to match for the album. So it was very much just like spending as much time as I could just writing music. And at the time, I did a lot of the sound design work, especially early on, but that was more just kind of like a list. We need footsteps, we need like a rustling bush, we need a bird, just like kind of like, okay, here's these, and again, without putting them in the game proper.
Yeah.
And then later on, we got a sound designer to really help flesh all that stuff out, and then that was in the final push, and then I could really concentrate on the polishing the music and things like the ghost voices took a lot of time. It's my own fault. I had a very solid idea for what the ghost voices should be. I felt like since we had the tape and the radio and all this like communication stuff as part of the mythology of the game, that the ghosts would communicate by chopping up those radio broadcasts and spitting them out. So they would take words from a radio show from 1936 and chop those words up and spit them out at the characters.
Okay.
So that's how they were communicating. So I had that idea, but then realizing that, then you can't just have a script that's a list of these things and have one person read them all and boom, done. It's like we had like 8 people read them all, and then I'm editing, and then they change the lines or they add lines throughout the process of the game.
Okay, yeah.
So that took so...
It sounded really cool, though.
Yeah,
like,
thank you.
Cool
And
yeah, it definitely that's what I would imagine like a demon to sound like, you know? Like once I start hearing that in the middle of the night, I know.
Yeah.
I know what's happening.
And that was one thing, and like I said with the music not really hammering home creepiness the whole time, you know, just being like really obvious like shrill strings or anything. But it was using the sound design to do that. Like how do we make this stuff not devil scary low voice stuff, but what is off-putting and creepy as possible? And so that there was more time than normal put into making that stuff sound the way it does.
Yeah.
And we didn't know it was gonna be. When I play video games, like I try not to find out as much as I can about them before going in because I want to just have the immersion or whatever. You know what I mean?
Just have it explain what it wants to you.
Yeah. So I didn't know, like going into Oxenfree, that it was gonna be creepy. You know what I mean? Because I didn't even watch the trailer before playing it, and so it definitely was like just very surprising. Because like the beginning, you know, it's very like bright and light and everything, and then it just kind of gets there, and it's really interesting because then the music can still stay kind of somewhat jovial even when you're seeing like someone with red eyes like floating and you're like, what's happening here? But,
that's awesome because that's my favorite stuff. Like if I can just hear that something's good, or a friend says you would like this, and then I don't know anything other than that, it's like, oh, that's the stuff.
That's my favorite too, because then you don't get anybody else's like opinion or how you're supposed to feel about it. And like sometimes trailers either show too much or they kind of tell you how you're supposed to feel, and I just like to just experience it, even with like TV shows and movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm the worst at spoiling myself, but I try. So like I'm the biggest Road Warrior nerd. Mad Max was my thing.
Okay.
Even again, this is another weird kid thing. All my friends were into, and I was into Star Wars too. I won't say I wasn't, but everybody was into Star Wars. I was into Mad Max. Like as a 10-year-old kid, you're like really into this hyper-violent Road Warrior. I was like, oh no, the Mad Max is the best. Oh, Han Solo sucks. Max Rockatansky. So when that movie came out, I was like, don't watch any trailers. Just go in, and I couldn't help myself.
I mean, it was everywhere.
And I got giddy though.
Yeah.
This looks really good. I've got high hopes, and then was not disappointed.
Yeah, I either go like one of two ways. I like look up as much information as I can, and then I go in, or I'm just like, don't talk to me, don't show me anything. But it's so hard to avoid it sometimes. Oh man, but so what's next for you? That you can talk about.
Man, that's the frustrating thing. I'm at this weird crux where I can barely talk about anything I'm working on. One thing that just happened though is a non-video game thing. I did a short documentary for PBS that just won an Emmy, so I'm very happy with that. It's called Wildlife Detectives.
Okay.
So it's a local production. So I think it's called Regional Emmys or something.
Oh, okay.
So it won Best Documentary. So I'm very
awesome.
proud of that. But so there are several games being worked on.
Cool.
Awesome.
That's exciting to hear.
So one should be announced and even released within the next couple months.
Okay,
so this is very weird because it's small. It's a small game, but there's like no lead up hype. We don't get to talk about it for a year before.
Okay.
That should be soon, and then working with Broken Rules from Austria on a game that should come out early next year. Working with Super Brothers on a project. Might be working with Night School on something.
Cool.
Secrets.
Yeah.
What's your favorite console to play on?
Actual controller is like the actual physical controller is the Xbox controller, but definitely right now PlayStation.
That's exactly where we're at.
Yeah.
That's so funny. We just got a PS4 because I don't know, like we've just been getting like I feel like the Xbox library can be. There's just so many more indie games on the PS4 right now and I like the smaller games because they're usually just like the art style is so pretty. And so, I'm definitely the same way about the controller too, but...
Yeah, I love the Xbox controller so much.
Yeah, and PS4 has had a great run with those indies too.
Yeah, we were looking through the library and first got like, there's so many games here that we want to play that look so weird. Some of them have look like cool stories and stuff like that, so very excited to get into that. When, like, looking forward, it seems like you want to continue working with games. Do you think you're gonna...
Is there like an ideal project that you would want to work on, or like a franchise?
I have no problem saying that Oxenfree was like was definitely an ideal.
Oh wow!
Just because musically, it's like if I'd never gotten into video games and was still like I'm just going to make a record, like that would be the music I would make.
Right.
Yeah, but it's impossible to say. There's another project I'm working on that's been going on for a really long time and has not been publicly announced yet, is kind of like cool dream project in not just what the final product is, but in the process it's been very kind of R&D experimental, trying out. We've just had the advantage of being a small team and having the time to experiment, so that's been really great.
Were you always into playing video games growing up?
Off and on. I think, like, as a little kid I was, but then when I got into music, I just went music.
Right.
And
I feel that.
Playing in bands and just being too poor to own anything.
Yeah. It's half the battle.
Yeah, and just... and then I got back into it slowly, and then... it really took off when I started getting offers to work on games. I was like, well, I better know what I'm doing.
Or what the competition is, or what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite game of all time?
Of all time? Man.
It's probably a hard question. I mean,
There's, for different aspects. I'd say, I guess, Myst would be a game that I was like, whoa. Mm-hmm. Like, that hit me at the right age, too, where I was like, oh, games can be this. And even though it's, like, by today's standards, very primitive, really, really engaged me. And that's that puzzle-solving thing. So, like, recently, like, The Witness.
We are playing that right now.
Yeah. We have Gammon, apparently. Guess.
Yeah, definitely, that's a game in recent memory that's really struck me right.
It's infuriating.
Yeah,
it's
so
beautiful.
hard.
It's really difficult.
Well, I have this habit, like I don't play. I'm a quality, not quantity person. So I got 100% The Witness.
That's
and
what
I
we're
pretty much
for.
and I didn't do anything else. Game wise, I led my life.
Yeah.
Stop everything else.
Only The Witness.
I ate things. I drank.
But
some
I
liquids.
think it came out. It came out like right around when Firewatch did, and I was like, sorry, Firewatch, you get to. I'm really excited to play you, but I'm not going to play until I finish The Witness.
We just finished Firewatch. Actually, we were super late playing it. And I mean, we really enjoyed it. I'm not sure how I felt about the ending. I thought it climaxed a little too soon for the ending. But what did you think about that game?
Yeah, I loved it.
You loved it,
especially too. I think it's weird to say it, but man, they really nailed it in like the first 2 minutes. Was just like
you're
what?
drawn in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
story
not fair. Like it was just too good. Like I was like, and not that everything else I felt lived up to it from there on, but it did a great job of like establishing this is the kind of game.
Yeah.
It had a great story to it.
Yeah, so
I loved the dialogue. It was very natural, and the guy,
atmosphere of it all too was really fantastic.
Yeah.
Other games, favorites of all time. I played the shit out of Halo and Halo 2. And that's the thing. I just can't... I'm not a big multiplayer person anymore, but I really, when Halo 2 came out, I played a lot of that.
Are you going to be playing Overwatch?
Probably not.
Okay.
I just can't do it. I can't do the competitive thing.
Yeah.
So this will sound so totally ridiculous. But even though it's just a game, I still... Team games, like if it's just one person versus another, and I always get my ass kicked. I'm like, fine, it's just me. But if it's like a team thing, I feel like I'm letting people down. Oh no, my comrades. Oh my God. So I get like actual I get nerves. Like I feel like strung out like after playing. So I'm like, well, this isn't what video games should do.
It's relaxing.
So have fun with Overwatch people, but I'm not gonna join.
No, that's me when I play like GTA 5 heists because you have like such a long lobby that you're waiting to get in there, and like if you fuck up in there, like you're really killing everybody's like last 2 hours. And so I have to be like so on it, and I'm not like amazing, so it's just really embarrassing.
Well, so here's a super nerdy thing, and I'm just like shoot and be shot. I'm just not that into, but games that do the multiplayer, but there's enough strategy involved. Yeah, that's what I really liked, and there was stuff like that in Halo 2, where it's like, well, I'm not the best like in a gunslinger showdown, but I know how to like bogart a certain piece of equipment, or if I stand here and shoot rockets here, I can totally like dominate this part of the map. So it was like these weird like idiot strategies that once I figured out, nobody could figure out. I was like, oh, I'm actually helpful if I grab the tank and I just keep shooting here the entire game, even though it's like not fun in the traditional sense. Like that would get me past that like fear of like letting the team down. But yeah, so since then it's even gotten worse in terms of like my love of puzzle games. Yeah. So like The Witness, I'm like, oh, this is so great.
We honestly got the PS4 just to play that game. Yeah. like if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Have you heard of the stupidly named Steven Sausage Roll?
No.
Okay. If you like, so it's aesthetically complete opposite of The Witness, but in terms of puzzle challenge and progression, it's really similar. Ooh. So I'm playing, and that's the current obsession. Is like a friend of mine on Steam was even making fun of me. I don't know if she knew what the game was. She's like,
just the name of
what's
it?
What's with all the sausage roll that's going on over there?
Is that just on Steam, or is it also on?
I think it's just on PC.
Okay.
But yeah, so you're a little dude with a fork rolling sausages around to grill them evenly.
Oh my God.
I mean, how stupid does that sound?
But it
kind of sounds fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to be playing I Am Bread soon, so I mean,
there's
anything weird.
And another one on that level in terms of puzzle difficulty versus like how ridiculous it looks is Snake Bird.
I haven't heard of that one either.
So that's another one where, you're a snake bird.
Love it.
And you'll just have to see it, but it's another really challenging puzzle game.
I feel like we should trade recommendations for puzzle games because that is my favorite type. I know you like your like first person shooters and everything like that.
I do enjoy them, but I also obviously enjoy the puzzle and story games.
And puzzle games are my favorite.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Andy, for coming on the show.
No problem.
It's been very enlightening, and
good.
I've learned a lot of different things. Where can we find your stuff?
SCNTFC is Googleable, and we'll bring up everything. But so
cool.
it's like
we'll tweet it too as well.
Scientific.bandcamp.com. Twitter's @scientific. I think scientific.com is my website.
Awesome.
So that's the way. And then all the stuff that I can't talk about, that's where I will be talking about them soon. Awesome. And like I said, one of them, it should announce any day now, and it's something I'm very excited about.
That's so exciting. Well, we'll keep a lookout for that, and we'll probably mention it when we find out. But thank you so much for having a cup of coffee with us today.
Yes.
And before we go, we actually have a surprise for you guys. We're doing a little giveaway. Night School was kind enough to provide us with 6 codes for Oxenfree to give away to you guys. It's the Xbox One version of the game, and it's not region specific, so no matter where you guys are in the world, you can enter it. And we're going to have some links on our website, CoffeeWithChrachel.net, and our Twitter with the link to sign up for the giveaway. And I haven't decided yet how long it's going to run for or anything like that.
I would say at least 6 days.
At least 6 days, but
6 people.
If you're interested in trying out Oxenfree, which we highly recommend, and if you have an Xbox One, go check that out, and we'll pick some winners in like a week or so.
All right. Well, then, thank you once again for joining us. Binges, stay tuned. We did not forget about you. We are going to be doing that in a moment, but let's clink it up here.
All right, bring in the mugs.
That was one hell of a clink. All right, bye, guys. Well, that was cool.
That was really enlightening and fun.
I feel like I learned so much, and I have so many games to play now.
Yes, that was just a fantastic interview.
Yeah, I love learning about things that, like, I would, especially because we play video games all the time. Like, it's cool to learn about, like, how it's fucking made.
I never thought I would be, like, interviewing people in the industry about, like, shit that goes down with making games and whatnot, so it's really cool.
So that was fun for us. I'm not gonna lie, guys, if you heard any noise during that, Pride is also happening, too, so that's something. But also, the cats...
They were extra.
They were trying so hard to fuck this up, and also Andy was like low key allergic to them. So that was interesting. But let's get into binge time.
Yeah,
we're going to the movies. Guys.
You guys are different movies, and we're gonna start off with Nicole, who is Ice Age Collision Course.
Honestly, guys, this was so hard to do. Carissa is Pirates of the Carissa-Bibian.
Slow Nolan is Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. That was a stretch.
We couldn't fucking do it. Raven Darrow is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Sarah Booth is Phone Booth.
Tense movie. Allison Sense is The Sixth Sense.
Hunter Curtis is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Amazing. Megan Rackley is Rockley.
Skylar Medley is Skyfall.
Skyfall. Taylor Collins is Tinker. What is this? The Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy? Okay, I'm not really sure what that is, but I'm sure it exists.
Yeah. Heather Ann is Heathers. I know we talked about that before.
Sloane Fuller is Full Metal Jacket.
Emma Corbeil is The Empire Strikes Back.
Danielle Manus is Old Yeller, because you're always yelling, bitch.
Kate Convery is The Conjuring.
Not a conversation. Angelica Feliz is Angels in the Outfield, a classic.
Corey Springfield is Coraline.
Creepy. Josie West is West Side Story.
Sarah Cook is The Jungle Book.
Jennifer Cornwell is Children of the Corn, a.k.a. Chris.
Sophia Cock is Hancock.
Ash Rozelle is Whiplash.
Nicole Allen is Allegiant.
Cody Castillo is Castaway.
Beth Fonseca is Macbeth.
Cornelia Thulin is Thor.
Sophie Adams is The Addams Family Movie.
Christina Contreras is Contagion.
Megan Grint is How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Grint is like... Alright, so Grinch is basically Grint and Binge. So that's cool. Jade Holden is Blade Runner. Jade Runner,
Allison Dowell is Black Hawk Down.
Catherine Simpson is The Simpsons Movie.
Bridget Carey Davis is Bridget Jones' Diary.
Marlene Naj is Marley and Me.
Cater Liriano is Liriano Country for Old Men.
Rebecca O'Donnell is 2001 A Space Odyssey.
Kendall Berg is Tay Ken.
Okay, that was definitely fucked. Allie McGregor is Alien.
Megan Grilly is Megamind.
Okay, that wasn't even that bad. Chloe Killip is Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Ian Murphy is Dial M for Murder.
Cassandra Buckhout is Casablanca. Very nice classic there.
Maddie Pullman is Napoleon Dynamite.
Amanda Marie is The Amazing Spider-Man.
Was not that amazing.
I know. We walked out on that one.
Jane Shell is Citizen Kane.
Rosebud. Jackie Brugilio is Jack and the Giant Peach. It's James, bitch.
I just realized it was James.
Oh my god!
Damn it.
Chris!
I fucked that up.
It's okay.
Well, now you're a new movie, Jack and the Giant Peach.
And it's the sequel.
Jack and the Giant Apricot.
It's his twin brother. Okay.
Camellia Malky is Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Don't let me relive this. Caitlin Whalen is Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Lucy Ravenscroft is Laura Croft Tomb Raider.
Cody Robinson is Robin Hood.
Tegan Anderson is the A-Team.
Lauren Siobhan is Schindler's List. You know, not a happy one.
Taco Roach is Revolutionary Roach.
Alison Francois is Frankenstein.
Haley Cadwalder is the Wolf of Wall Street.
Sarah Seaman is Deep Blue Sea, a classic.
Dana Daly is the Danish Girl.
I thought that meant like the pastry for a moment. You know? Megan Wilson is Good Will Hunting.
Jackie Lampo is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Claire Wood is Cabin in the Woods.
Kelly Adams is Cadet Kelly.
Oh my god. Move it! Get down here, Cadet! Okay, sorry. Hannah Peterson is Edward Scissorhands.
Jenna Gornier is Jennifer's Body.
Oh my god, my sexual awakening. Sasha Smith is Shawshank Redemption.
Sarah is Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Bridget Dubin is Bridge to Terabithia.
Vlyn and Drew is V for Vlindetta.
We had a lot of fun with that one. Jax is Percy Jackson.
Hillary Gay is The Hills Have Eyes.
Anna Hernandez is Animal House.
Jennifer Holtz is Holes.
Courtney White is Snow White and the Huntsman.
Elizabeth Doles is $1 Million Baby.
Dollar Baby. Shelley Smith is Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Mackenzie Knight is The Dark Knight.
And Rachel Evans will eventually find out what a movie is.
Come on, Rachel.
Come on.
It's 2016.
You watch it and you learn, you know. All right, so the rest of the Beach Bunches, I would say they're all of like the next Ice Age movies, all the sequels. Because that's how many there are probably going to be in total.
Yes.
It's the rest of the Binchos.
All right, so we got Allie Malone.
We got Mariah Hanna.
Kathleen Wynne.
Zoe Armowick.
Elizabeth Hallberg.
Rose Barnett.
And Megan Praise.
So thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys like video games and you liked this episode, we hope you learned a lot. We honestly want to have more episodes like this where we pick the brains of people that are a lot more successful and smart than us.
Yeah,
so
and make sure you guys enter the giveaway if you're interested.
Yeah.
We got 6 codes to give away.
Yeah, so please go and play Oxenfree. It's not sponsored. We didn't get paid shit for this. We just wanted to do it, and we did really love that game. So highly recommend it.
See our stream of it again. It's on YouTube, and we had a lot of fun with
that was one of the lit
piece of shit.
Oh my god, they tweeted like fan art of Clarissa the other day, and I was just like, I rolled my eyes at my Twitter timeline. I was like, fuck Clarissa. She's like still not my fave, and that's...
You can see how we managed to get like the least likely ending things. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
we always do
that. Like,
every
we managed to
game.
make everybody hate us by the end of the game, I think.
I think we really fucked it up, and we need to play it again. Like, I feel like an idiot. Like, I hope Andy does not watch our stream. Like, you know what I'm saying? All right, well, thank you guys so much for having a cup of coffee with us and supporting the show, and
we will see you on Thursday.
All right, bye.
Bye.
That was a HeadGum podcast.